about is when I get done with my speeches, everybody says, "Hey, Skees, where's the altar call?" That was funny. I'm sorry. My name is Skees. I'm the candidate for Republican Auditor here in Montana. We're at the very end of the road. 4 days. Woo! Man, I'm out of black ink on my calendar. And this is the point where the candidates got to do everything they can to divorce mitigate. You got to make sure your lovely wife doesn't say, "Man, I've had enough." So I need to put my lovely wife on a pedestal. Darling, thank you so much for all that you've done for me in this campaign. She was a sweetheart. Yeah. Up in his plane, a lot of guys said, "Hey, Skees, you keep sending her over here more than me." And I said, "Duh." Well, yeah. That's why I only have Skees on the tag, man. If you guys want, just take her and then up down in the background. We're doing a big barnstorming tour across the state of Montana. This is our third day, and I can't even remember what, 16, 15, 14. Rick will give you the exact details. It's been awesome. This party is alive and on fire. Everywhere we go, there's a standing room only. And this is awesome that we're outside in God's great earth while we're doing it here. That's great. It was raining before we got here, and I'm sure it'll rain right after we leave, so what a sign. This party's fired up, guys. We have a lot of things we need to do and a lot of things we got to accomplish. And this tour is going to serve two functions. One is to rally for victory. That's what we're all looking for is victory this Tuesday. But it's also a rally to thank you, because we understand that we can't do anything without the help of all you good folks. It's not the double edge on this sword, and that's why we're here. We need to do both those things. I think that we can do better. We can do better than Obamacare in Montana. We can do better than 20 years of the land board dominated by Democrats. We can do better than the failed policies of 8 years under Democrat control in this state. The slate of candidates that we have, both locally and in the state, is an awesome group. I've been fortunate enough to campaign for a year and a half with most of these fellows. It's awesome. Montana is going to be well served by the ticket that we have. And it's neat that Rick had the great idea to gather us all together and travel through here and meet everybody one last time for one last big push. And so, thank you. Thank you. All my literature, it says we can do better. And then you can plug in 100 different things the Democrats are screwing up on that phrase. But when I say we, I don't just mean us candidates. I mean we in this Republican Party. We in the communities and the farms and the houses and the villages in Montana. We can do better. And we can do better by the work of our brow. And we all know it. And so that's why I'm including you guys. Here we are, the last hour, the 12th hour. The battle has just begun. We need to continue this fight hard, if you would. What we need to do is make sure you guys, when we leave here today, when we go, we're going to continue campaigning, but when we leave, you guys, please continue to push. Friends and family that you know that might be on the fence. Friends or family that you know that they haven't sent in their ballots yet. Make sure that they do it. Anybody that wants to argue with you that's on the fence, because there's a large chunk of folks like that, go to them and convince them that prosperity can only really be achieved in Montana by rejecting what they've done for 20 years and put some new folks in there, and we can finally do that. I do this little joke, and a lot of people look at me cross-eyed, but if there were 4 frogs on a log and one frog decided to jump off, how many frogs would be left on the log? Nice. 4. Way to go. I can't swing this group. These guys are sharp. The 4th frog decided to jump, but he didn't jump. So if you guys are deciding today to help us and you leave and you don't, then that's just a frog that stays on the log. The battle is only won by efforts from good folks like you. So genius. That was awesome. And so just as a final note, it's official. Osama bin Laden and Muammar Gaddafi are dead because they just registered to vote in Butte yesterday. The Democrats don't play fair, and they have a lot of advantages that we don't enjoy, namely the press. And so what we need is the battleground to begin in our homes and in our families, at our kitchen tables, and in the little garages and shops all across our communities. And it's only from that position that we can attain a grassroots, bottom-up battleground and win. And we know that you guys are famous for that up here, and we love and appreciate each one of you. So with that, thank you so much for coming out. I get to start out. I'm lucky that I have that honor. So I'm going to introduce today the next Attorney General of the state of Montana. My good buddy Tim, he's got some phenomenal ideas, and he'll lay them all out. And I'm really excited about the team we have and the incredible governor that we're going to get. So help me welcome Tim Fox.
Well, welcome again. I've come full circle. Just a few days ago, I saw many of you right here in Plains, Montana. I kissed my lovely wife goodbye last Sunday, and since then I've done over 2,700 miles in 25 communities. First with the Rehberg campaign when I saw you last, and now with Rick Hill. Thank you, Rick, for inviting us to come along with you and your team putting all of these things together, and thank you all for coming out once again. It's so great to see so many of you. This is the final moments of this campaign, and I can tell you that we as candidates have worked tirelessly for a long, long time to get us to this point so that we're competitive and so that we can win. And we can do a lot more in the next 3 days, but frankly, it's up to you from here on out. It is up to each one of you to go out and speak to someone else who's on the fence, who hasn't decided what they're going to do. Help that person to get out to the polls come Tuesday, and all of the extra effort that you will do in the next 3 days will put us over the top. And certainly we need that. We need to redouble our efforts and redouble them once again, and I know you will do that, and I'm going to thank you right here and now for what you've done till now and what you will do in the next few days. And Derek is right. After Tuesday, there's a lot of work to be done, but we don't want to get past ourselves here. We want to make sure we get it done, that we get our great slate of Republican candidates elected. You know, certainly we need an Attorney General who is different than the ones we've had for the last 20 years, and I'm here to be that person for you. We need someone who's going to stand up to the federal government every time that they try to infringe on our rights, our state sovereignty, whether it's the forest management, whether it's the EPA, wolves, you name it. We're going to have federal government knows that Montanans stand for life and liberty. Come January, you're going to have an advocate in the Attorney General's office to make sure that our Constitution, and I pledge to you that I will be that kind of Attorney General for you come January. But as part of a team, we need to get everyone up and down our ballot that are Republicans elected, and so we need, again, to work very, very hard. It's going to be a great honor to work with this next person that I'm going to introduce for you, who I'm sure has been here, and you know him very well. He's got great ideas. He's got a vision for Montana that's not only going to help us out in the near term, but how about these young ladies, your kids and your grandkids? Aren't you worried about their future? You better believe that this man knows your concerns, and he knows the path to success so that we can create jobs and have economy that we can all be proud of, and that we have an education system that keeps our kids here and makes them ready for the times ahead. So it's with great honor and pleasure that I have the opportunity to introduce to you the next governor of the great state of Montana, Rick Hill. So, well, thank you all for coming out. We really appreciate it on a Saturday in hunting season. That's pretty special.
Not too long before hunting life.
We already got a deer this morning. She shot her buck this morning, so that's great. I missed a few. So, you know, when I started this campaign, and it's just 1 week short now of 2 full years that I've been campaigning for governor. I announced on November 10th. And I laid out an agenda, and that agenda was to challenge 3 of the entrenched forces in Montana, which are the trial lawyers, who have control of our legal system, who are destroying our economy, environmentalists, who are the obstructionists that are stopping us from progress and opportunity, and the teachers union, who are more interested in the institution of education than they are about our children. And a lot of people said to me, well, Rick, you can't win if you take on all those powerful forces. And I said, I don't want to win if I can't take on those forces, because that's what we've got to change about Montana if we want to get Montana to be a prosperous place again. And I want to win with an agenda for more opportunity. This is about our kids and grandkids. I have 7 grandchildren, and 5 of them I got to get on an airplane to go visit. And I don't like that. And I don't know about you, but in fact, the theme of the campaign originally is going to be grandparents shouldn't have to get on an airplane to see their grandchildren. You know, we want to export timber and gold and copper and silver and coal, but what we don't want to do is export our kids. And that's what we're doing. Our most precious resource, we're sending somewhere else, and we're not developing the resources that could make us more prosperous. We're next to last in the nation. We live in the most wealthy state in the country, and it shouldn't be this way. And that's what this is all about for us. And that's what our campaign is about. And from the top of the ticket for president, for the Senate race, the congressional race, the governor's race, the other statewide offices, this is a really pivotal election. And I fear, in fact, Steve Bullock criticized me for saying
I fear for my grandchildren. And I don't fear for my grandchildren if I'm elected, but I do fear for my grandchildren if he's elected. And if Obama is reelected, and if the Democrats continue to control the United States Senate. So we have a very aggressive agenda. You know, we were just in Thompson Falls, and we were talking about coordination. We have a plan for working with local governments, bringing resources to the table with local governments so they can assert their coordination rights so that we can get back on these public lands and we can have these natural resources for jobs. And John Sonju is going to head up that effort. There's only, the Lieutenant Governor has one constitutional responsibility, and that's to be there when the Governor dies. And that's not on my agenda. And he has one statutory responsibility, and that is to run the Drought Advisory Board. And that's not a big issue right here right now. And we've decided we aren't going to have any droughts during our 8 years in office, so that's not going to be real important. But we're going to take the Economic Development Office and turn it into an advocacy for Montana. That's why it's so important that we have an Attorney General that's going to partner with us when we push back against EPA rules, or we push on forest management plans, or public land management, or recreational access plans, or park management plans. And we're going to stand with you in this community, your local government, to make sure that you are sitting at the table as an equal player when we're dealing with these issues. And the result of that is going to be more jobs, better paying jobs, and more opportunity. We're also going to change how the government works, because right now they think that you work for them. And we're going to change that. We're going to make sure they understand that it's their job to work for you and to help you, not to be an obstacle. And that's how they do their jobs today. And we're going to reform education in Montana too, so that our kids come through. And we support school choice, we support homeschooling, we support private education tax credits, we support charter schools, and we're going to support public schools as well, but we're going to build a model where we're focused on the kids rather than on the institution. But I really want to talk about the rest of these offices, and I want to remind everybody what's at stake on November 6th. And I'm going to start with the statewide offices. Right now we have a candidate for public instruction, Sandy Welch, who will work with us to transform education. You know, the last time there was a Republican at the Office of Public Instruction, there were about 70 employees. Now I think there are 260 employees there. Most of them are employees that are working under federal grants that mostly make more rules and regulations and make it harder for our schools to operate. Sandy gets that. We're going to change the model of education so that the Office of Public Instruction is there to help us make better schools, not to be a compliance organization, which is what they've involved to do. So we've got to get Sandy elected. And here's the point. Every one of these races is within the margin of error right now. You're a little outside the margin of error. But the point is that whether it's Denny's race or our race for governor or these statewide offices, we've got to sprint across the finish line to get this done. So we need to elect Sandy Welch. We need Derek Skeese. And we need Derek because Derek understands that there's a free market model for creating competition that lowers costs for insurance. It's not more rules and regulations. The rules and regulations cost money and they reduce competition and they make it more difficult, not better. And so Derek gets that. Pushing back against Obamacare, making sure that we have competition, making sure that employers can afford to provide insurance for their employees. And I can tell you, if Romney's elected president, we will be the first ones to ask for a waiver for the state of Montana and Obamacare. I don't know whether we cannot be certain that the Democrats aren't going to try to steal this election. They'll try to steal this election if they can. And that's why, and they will in the future. They stole the election in 2006. And we need a Secretary of State who is going to stand with us to get rid of same-day registration, who's going to stand with us for photo IDs, who's going to stand for ballot integrity. And we don't have that with the current Secretary of State. That's why we got to help Brad Johnson win as well. And then the Attorney General. The current Attorney General, I challenged him in the debate in Billings. I don't know how many you saw in Bozeman. And I said, you have a record of failure, not a record of success. He refused to challenge Obamacare. He refused to challenge the EPA when they wrote the rules that are shutting down power plants in Montana, adding hundreds of millions of dollars to our power bills. He promised in the debates with you that he would get the sexual predator registry up and running. I don't know if you know this or not, but the legislative auditor audited, and there are 800 or 900 sexual predators living in our neighborhoods, and we don't even know that they're there because he failed in his responsibility to do the job. He voted against the development of Auditor coal. He'll pretend that he voted against it because the price wasn't right. That's not true. In a debate in 2008, he promised the Democrats that he would vote against the development of Auditor coal. This man has failed the state of Montana. And my view about this is that... I already voted for you, Rick. Thank you!
Love hearing that.
Now, you may not fire somebody if they fail at their job, but you sure as heck don't promote him. And he doesn't deserve a promotion to governor of the state of Montana. So here's what you need to do. I know you're working hard. I know you're going door to door. I know you're making phone calls. We need to keep doing it through Tuesday. And so I'd ask you to double down, make another phone call, take a yard sign, put it in your neighbor's yard.
With permission.
Even without permission. Put it on the fence. You need to do that. We started this with a prayer, and I'm going to ask you, when you go home tonight, to pray for our families. I often tell, people say to me, you got to have a thick skin to do this. And I tell people, this is calluses and scar tissue that creates that thick skin, because this is hard. All of us, they tried to trash our reputations, they tried to lie about what we stand for, and it's difficult. But our families, they need to be lifted up, because this is really hard on families.
It's very hard. We appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah,
So go home tonight, say an extra prayer for our families. My wife Betty had to fly back to Helena last night. Her mother collapsed and is in the hospital, so her name is Ruth Christie. I'd ask you if you'd lift her up in your prayers. She's she's the matriarch of our family, and we love her deeply. And her dream is this. In fact, she told the doctors this morning, you got to get me out of here by Tuesday because I got to go vote for my son-in-law. But her dream is that she wants to spend a night sleeping in the governor's residence. So thank you all for coming.
Thank you. One thing that's different than the rest with this group that we have here is they're looking for answers, not excuses.
That's right.
That's right.
And that's how we're going to win.
Good job, partner. Well said.
All right. Thank you. All right, let's get to work.